we on? Good. Welcome to the Better Than Not podcast. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. But when we at least do something, we know it's almost always better than not. Hi there, and welcome to Better Than Not, the podcast that aims to capture shifting perspectives and thought-provoking ideas in conversation while asking the question, is anything what it seems? Based on my series, The Changing Frame of Reference, which you can read on the Substack app, and I hope you will, as it might give you some insight into what the podcast is all about. I also hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel, Better Than Not, so I can continue to bring you great guests like we have today. I'm your host, Del Gardam, and today it's a pleasure to welcome back friend, I'll say radio personality and political commentator, Scott Thompson. Scott, how are you?
I'm doing very well, and I just feel I'm such a lightweight for a podcast that deals with such heavy. I don't even think I'm in the right category here.
Well, I will tell you. So Scott was on this back in April. In fact, he's the first guest that came on a second time within weeks of the first episode. That doesn't usually happen. It's more like what we're doing here. That was last April, and what are we into? January, soon to be February. But
so, like Saturday Night Live, do I get a jacket?
I think we could arrange for that, like the Masters jacket, like the one that Mike Weir won when he won.
Sure,
Mike Weir.
Sure.
Oh yes, he's a golfer. So we had chatted. The reason why this happened is we were having a particularly big election. At least a couple of us thought so at the time. And I thought, well, this might be a chance to kind of get some of another look at things. And Scott was in that world. It continues to be in that world, has lots of things to go on that world. And so I thought, okay, let's kind of come back and see where we are after that. So you remember that, I'm pretty sure, fondly, because you had some really pretty specific things going on at that time. And the results of the election were not really what we talked about in that conversation.
This is why I hate doing these things.
But we gave it the good, honest try to kind of get a shift, and it definitely started some thinking for other people. But since that time, and as we were just saying, kind of off program, the last 24 hours has spun a whole nother, shall we say, whirlwind or firestorm going on between the two. But when we had that last chat, Scott, how has that picture shifted in your head, or has it at all?
I can't even remember that interview.
It shifted that much.
Well, when we were talking,
well, I'll give you an example.
The factor was Donald Trump in the conversation.
Yes, but you had shared sites on literally the candidate that was was looked upon as the Liberal candidate for leadership was supposed to come in and be the finance minister.
Yeah.
But because, like, literally, weeks before, the finance minister at the time decided, I'm not doing what you want me to do, so I'm leaving.
She fell on the sword.
Yep. And then everything shifted, and now we're in with who was supposed to be the finance minister for Canada is now our PM, Mark Carney, right?
And I remember, I think we were, well, which budget was he going to present? And boy, it took an awful long time for that first one. Was it going to be an old Trudeau era, lost decade, or was it going to be something like we're experiencing now, which a lot of people would call a conservative way of looking things? And going back to where we were, my goodness, we were talking about a Prime Minister Trudeau who had taken the once great left of center Liberal Party and drove it into the extreme left ditch with the likes of Jagmeet Singh. And what that did is completely vacates the middle. It vacates the middle class. Mm-hmm. And Pierre Poilievre, who many people now look at as an extreme right winger, he just went and sucked into the vacuum and took that center vote, that center right vote. And that was that was going to win you an election. And boy, but if you look at his numbers and you
Mhm.
discount the NDP, he may have won it. So what has happened is Trump comes into the picture, and that's a whole other issue, which I'm sure we'll get to. Trying to stick on one theme here, but
Right.
in order to do what he has done, and that is become prime minister, Mark Carney literally took every one of Justin Trudeau's key plank policies and turned it on its ass and did a reversal, whether it's military, spending, border security,
Immigration.
immigration, pipelines, whatever. Even the view through a feminist lens or the view through a human rights lens. That's gone now. And Carney publicly stated that just a couple of weeks ago. We're here to make a deal. Sound familiar? We're not here to change the world. And what has happened is he has taken this party right back to the center left. So much so that many on the left are calling him a conservative. And what he's doing is just responsible center leadership by turning all of these policies on their ass and creating an environment where Canada can become productive again, attract investment again, be innovative again, which, the lack of described the last lost Liberal decade. So, the fact, I don't know how it happened. My neck's still spinning from the whiplash, but he's done it. And just gave a phenomenal speech the other day. I'm not sure we're going to download this, but yesterday, by where we are, and the world's talking about it, and it was impressive. And
Wow.
the Trumpster came on today, and he was freestyling for like an hour and 15 minutes, and I'm not sure where he was skiing.
Well, Scott, when you say that, so recently I had a conversation with columnist from the Globe and Mail, Tony Keller. And he had written this article on immigration, which was the first article that I've read that is quantified. So he used quantified numbers and didn't go anywhere else, like whether it be ethnicity or anything else. He just stuck to the numbers. And what was really fascinating to me was kind of how he ended up, because he was commenting on, and we all experienced this, but he said we had ridden a line for a long time with an immigration around 250,000 people a year for years and years. It was never a political issue, he kind of explained. And he said in 20, I think
that's as many houses as we were building a year at that point, too.
Well, it's going to fit exactly into what you kind of commented on in the last episode, because he said we went from there to 1.3 million in a year, but we didn't.
For 3 years.
We didn't do anything. We didn't do anything. There no infrastructure changes. So your 250,000 houses remained at 250,000 houses. Like we didn't make any changes to it. And it was the first time. And why I was making this with regards to your comment about Carney's speech, phenomenal speech, I think is what you said, was that he said Carney has brought that rate down to like in the 300 zone. That's a staggering reversal.
Yeah, and it's why some universities and colleges are crying. Oh, woe is me. It is. And while you were speaking, I jotted down post-COVID-19. During the post-COVID era and in the last few months of COVID, we were all coming together. The premiers, the first ministers are all meeting, and this big kumbaya moment, how we're going to fix the healthcare. And, I would talk to these people every day. And whether it's the Canadian Medical Association or Dental Association, like we were making great strides. Like we're at least pointed in the same direction. We had learned from the pandemic where we were from a healthcare perspective. And then JT opens up the floodgates. When Trump during his first term is saying, we're going to close the holes in the fence, he's come on in. Well, that's not responsible immigration. No. I'm a first generation Canadian. My mother came over on the boat post World War II with a suitcase. I mean, everybody's like that here or has some sort of story or tale of somebody who. That's not what this is about.
No.
This is, just poor management. And again, we were through this in the last episode, but Mark Carney has he's totally done a 180. And it's funny because Trudeau was with Katy Perry speaking at Davos.
Was he?
Yes, and he's talking about soft power. And it's like, Carney he just finished a speech saying the exact opposite. Now, Trudeau's was first, but, he's so out of touch. He was out of touch 10 years ago, and he's just still selling the same old song and dance with Katie by his side sitting in the front row.
So why was he even asked to speak?
Because it draws attention to...
Oh, he's a crowd. Okay.
I don't know.
He fills seats.
I'm not... I was once the sound man and lighting man for Atlantis, but I don't know anything about that sort of thing.
Yeah, that's for another episode.
Yeah, sorry, it's a tease, though.
Yes, it's awesome. But it is kind of amazing to me when you kind of look back and say, like, what happened was what we wanted, thinking we had to change the government in a way, right? Which is kind of astonishing.
You know what changed this?
That's why I'm opening it up.
And it's who Carney rode to his election victory. And that was Donald Trump. And when he was standing there and preaching, I'm going to save you from Donald Trump, he had no idea this is where we were going. I mean, but let's be honest. Donald Trump is Donald Trump, but he wants his country secure.
Mm-hmm.
He wants his country secure from an energy standpoint, an economic standpoint, all of that. And, I say to everybody, here we go on Trump. I'm veering off. Do you want me to pull back or what?
No, go, man.
What he has done is instead of going into a meeting with people and saying, we really should secure the North. We really should. Everybody get together, and we really should secure the North. And you know where that will lead. Yeah, we should all secure the North. There'd be a great photo op, and nothing gets done.
Yeah.
Donald Trump, if you don't get that in order, I'm going to go get it. And that's exactly what's happened. And that's how he plays. And, I saw one political commentator say, any politician who hasn't read Art of the Deal is just, or at least a summary of it, or
Yes.
at least reviewed it. Like, I have not read it because life's too short, but I've certainly read enough about it. This is how he plays.
Yeah.
There's no win-win. It's win-lose. And I'm going to come in and I'm going to take everything Doug Gardam has. So even if Doug Gardam gets back 90% of what he had, he's still going to think, oh my God, thank God he didn't take it all. And that's how he plays. And now it's Greenland. Here's my proof. Today at Davos, he goes out in front of all these people during his 1 hour and 15-minute diatribe. And he goes, I'm not going to take Greenland militarily, or something to that effect. And then you can see everybody in the audience kind of going, and he goes, oh, look, everybody just went, oh. He's actually doing that on the stage at Davos. And then he explains, da-da-da-da-da. So it's like, there's his answer.
Yeah.
He's not going to invade it militarily. And you know why? Because he stirred up so much in the last 24 to 48 hours on this, that even his people next to him are saying, you got to back this down, boss. You got to back it down. And it's the same with Canada. It's the same with anything. Yep. But what has he done since he stepped up and literally gave Mark Carney a platform? What has happened? We had a prime minister who would go to America, and it was on the Pentagon tapes that were leaked. We're not going to even spend 2%. Screw that. Now all of a sudden we're paying 5%. We're not, securing the borders, whatever. Biden made him mend the hole in the fence, and now it's a completely different thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, whether it's our different attitude, and again, we have to wait and see.
Yes.
Carney's talking. Is he going to make it happen? Are we going to see a pipeline? We've seen increased border security. We've seen increases in as you were speaking of, in immigration. And now it's the North.
Yeah.
None of this would have happened if Trump wouldn't started kicking people's asses. And I'm not endorsing kicking people's
No.
asses,
But
but that is how we got here. That is what got Mark Carney elected. And he did a complete 180. It's a great
amazing.
time to do a complete 180 on a totally failing set of policies for a decade and get us back to the center. And that's where we are. So every time we piss on Donald Trump, and he's such an easy mark. He really, really is.
True.
We
Everybody
wouldn't even
seems to know that.
we wouldn't be talking about security in Greenland if he wasn't.
Mm-mm.
So, we should all get together. Why don't we get together in Greenland and all meet about it and all chat about it and da. Why didn't he do that? Well, because he knew nothing would get done. So I'm going to go up and take it. And then he compares it to Venezuela, which is like,
Yes.
that's night and day. But it is a good show of strength on the U.S. part.
Yeah.
But it's night and day. One's a wanted man. One's like, we're up there living in the snow. So,
Well, it's a show. It's a show of two very different strategies, Scott. Like
incredibly, and the bluster is bigger than the bite. The bark's bigger than the bite, and what he wants for his people is, in a very bent and depraved way, is what everybody wants. But
right.
he just goes about it in a weird way. And again, I'm not endorsing him. I'm not. I mean,
he does kind of like. It's almost predictable, although it's when I say predictable, the bluster is predictable. But
here it is. If we look after our own,
yes,
we don't have people like Donald Trump saying, "Look after your."
No,
we got things coming down. We got things coming up. We got blah 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 blah. And everybody has been relying on the U.S., not just Canada, post World War II. They're the biggie. They're the whatever. And you know what? If you're the U.S., I get it. We'll be more than happy to protect the world, but you got to give us some help, whether it's financial, whether it's this, that, or the other.
Right.
And you know what he's doing? He's going back and he's collecting on past dues. Is it the way that Americans are going to, want to be seen in history? I'm not sure. But, in the end of the day, who'll stop Donald Trump? The American people.
Yeah, no. Well, I mean, that's
Frankly,
what's 3 years away, right? So it's but it's very interesting to me of how it's like, how you hate someone telling you what you need to do, and it's like a negative driver,
especially an American. Those arrogant bums.
Like it's just kind of a weird thing to me, is that like you end up doing, and it's like a negative driver, but is what you should do.
And maybe that's what it's not what he said. It's the way that he said it.
Yeah, because no one likes that bluster and that arrogance and that like.
Well, that's why I don't understand. You were talking about Trudeau at Davos. It's like, you are such yesterday's news. Like, how can you even stand in the same room with the same people who are doing exactly opposite of what you wanted?
It's a stunning kind of turnaround for sure. But yeah, I was going to say my eyes were rolling with the latest entertainment news and his new gal, because it's just like he was running this country for 11 years, Scott. Like,
my wife calls it creepy.
Oh, creepy is the right word. It's very creepy.
Again, he has a right to his own life and his own privacy. But boy, as soon as you step in front of that spotlight, some people, it just that bad taste returns to the mouth.
It's like that old saying about absolute power corrupts up absolutely, right? Like, it's just one of those things that kind of took place. He walked in. I remember that, like. And I'll talk about a switch around in my own brain, but like eloquent speaker, like ghost of his father, like
charismatic.
It's like he should have been an actor.
Well, he is.
Yeah,
he's just cast in the wrong role, Doug.
He's just not in Hollywood. That's right. But very, very crazy things that are going on. But I hadn't heard the latest with the Greenland thing. And I'll have to go back and look at hear the Carney thing, because you were quite high on what he was speaking about. So that's kind of cool.
I think the Globe and Mail even reprinted the whole speech.
Oh, that's cool. No, they were,
because apparently, what I'm told, it's much more powerful to even read it. So
I'll bet well, it's good to see, like, again, I'll go back to the episode. You were talking about Canada standing up. And at that point in time, it seemed like, well, yes, we're not going to buy American goods and a bunch of different things as the tariffs were coming in. But I thought it was a really good statement that you said. Like, it's like, just because all the stuff's going on doesn't mean you can't stand up.
yeah,
And
and no, if you're going toe to toe with them on a battlefield, you're going to get creamed. We're not there, and the
right.
American people aren't going to let him get there. And again, Venezuela, a completely different story.
Oh,
But it's funny how, you know, now after being in a bromance with Trump, since he, and even Trump said, yeah, I want the liberals in, you know, and they were getting along well. Yeah, he's just showing them respect. And all of a sudden it's like, that's enough. You've crossed the line. And he said he never even referred to Trump or America by name, but we knew what he
who
was
he's
saying.
talking. Yeah. Interesting.
Yes, and you know what that did? That grabbed him by by the collar and just gave him a big shake, which is something exactly like what Doug Ford did when he sent
Oh,
the commercial down to the U.S.
yeah. No,
It
true enough.
resonated. He's the
Yes.
tough guy. Bad
Yep.
cop, good cop. Bad cop, good cop. So now it's Carney's turn to stand up, and it seems the EU and the UK and everybody else is rallying around him. So
Powerful.
to me, it's a case of, it's his ball, it's his house. He's got the big field. He's got whatever, So you got to kind of play by his rules, unless somebody else gets a ball and they all start playing, across the road.
Mm.
Then you're the one left out. And the thing about narcissistic people, they don't want, although they may be isolated, they don't want to be perceived as being isolated.
Right.
This guy speaks almost every minute of the day. And as I said, I think even Americans are just getting exhausted by the constant barrage of blah. And then Carney gets up and knocks it out of the park. So there's a leader, crazy. Everybody is saying. That guy's a buffoon.
Yeah, no, they're like, that's yeah, I have to acknowledge that's an important thing to come out and be able to do such a thing. But it's also demonstrated, though, Scott. I look around right now and kind of go through a number of things that you listed. But if we look right now, we're experiencing, I'll say, the lowest fuel prices we've had in years. If it looks like our food prices are going down, despite the fact that apparently December inflation was up. However,
with
do
all
those
due
numbers.
respect, there's a long grocery list of things that are going down, including crime
Yeah.
and auto theft.
Oh, really?
But they were freaking through the roof for the last decade. So I'm sure when you look at the graph, and again, I understand what you're saying, and that's good for you and me in the latter parts of our lives. But there's still kids out there that can't buy a damn house, and what Carney is saying is what everybody wants to hear in the center, but it's like, less talk, more rock. And we got to get this. We got to get this done.
So
there's got to be an east-west corridor. There's got to be, our ports need to be upgraded. The security, obviously, in the north and such. Like, there's so many things. And then there's the social issues where, never get solved, that Justin Trudeau spent 10 years chasing his tail. So, there's lots of work to be done.
So if we turn this around to what you had said, because that was another big highlight from the previous thing, is about our kids can't buy homes, right? And that's been a real a concern about the next generation, right? So we've still got probably certainly the lowest interest we've seen in years, because we were around when you were buying houses that were like 14%, which is almost inconceivable today. You've got this situation. You've got, I think, across the country, real estate is at a stop. You'll see
it's a good time to buy if you got the cake.
Well, that's kind of where I'm kind of going to. Like, the summer, all we heard about were the massive inventories of condos in Toronto and Vancouver. Don't hear that story at all. I don't think anybody bought them up. I'll throw out the flag from, again, south of the border with Trump saying that he's going to make it illegal for large corporations to buy freehold homes or single family homes, like they've been doing with, like, is it Blackstone or BlackRock?
Yeah.
And many of those other things, which is will that kind of come north? Because whether we like it or not, the next generation's coming in, and they need places to live. And I don't think the general populace like the idea that everyone's going to have to rent. They want a piece of the rock themselves, right?
Or be stacked up like cordwood, right?
Yeah. So do
You know,
you see like some of those, because out here I'm seeing some of those markers. There's talk about, yes, they want to raise interest rates, but with inflation rising, they're going to have to drop them. We've got massive, as far as I know, inventories of homes that eventually people are going to have to lower the price on because they can't sit around forever not selling. What's your picture on like what you can see? Because you've got a kind of broader side on the east side and maybe even see it on the west side of Canada. I'm specifically talking nationally, though, in this country.
I think the biggest movement in housing that you're going to see in the short term is through the year 2026, because the majority of pandemic mortgages that were signed 5 years ago are coming due. And those were like
Oh, yeah.
lower than 2%. So they're all coming due. So all of a sudden those rates are going. So that's going to, there's going to even be more. People say that if you're going to buy, no hurry, because you're fine for a while.
So Scott, with that point, you probably know history on this, but yes, back in like I'll say, I'm thinking like late 80s, early 90s, interest rates were way up there.
Yeah.
But they would go from 10 to 11%. That's a marginal. But what you just said, going from less than 2% to 3.5%, 4.5%, that's tripling your mortgage payment.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like that's a pretty big, and so this 26 is the end. That's the 5-year term since the pandemic, is what you're saying.
Yeah, because they were signed in 2021, so they're all coming due this year. So you're going to see more of that. But you bring a valid point, and it made me think of something that the governor of the Bank of Canada said recently when they were talking about interest rates and whatever, and they said, because it's always, a few years ago, grocers are gouging us and no, and he basically said, we can't lower prices anymore. We can't lower interest rates anymore. We can't lower anything anymore. We need to raise wages. And the reason we've had to lower all of that stuff is because productivity, innovation, and investment is down.
Mm-hmm.
People aren't in profitable situations with companies that are in profitable situations because we've had 10 years of a stalled government. So again, there's all this incentive with Carney and the development office, which all I see is a lot more bureaucracy. Let the private industry determine what's next,
right?
Not checking off boxes and what have you. But again, it's he's got to turn it around quickly. Not only do Canadians not have the patience, the country doesn't have the money to keep doing this. It's not sustainable. And that's why the country has been moved back to the center. But, again, it's going to take a long time for the kids for that all to trickle up or down and make it, those kids are 10 now. But to the ones that are 20 and 30, and it's tough.
Yeah.
It's tough.
Yeah. No doubt.
Yeah. Anyway, but that being said, I'm very optimistic about it because Canada has such a humongous potential for growth. It's just our hands have been tied behind our back and we've been muzzled for the last 10 years. So,
well, that kind of brings me back to the immigration comment, because another point that came out of Keller's work was that those doors were opened. There were side doors that were opened, and this wasn't high skilled, I'll say, immigration that would help Canada grow. This is very much low skilled labor that's coming in. Comment on that, of what those ramifications could lead to. Like, one of the comments I've heard is like, that's why Uber drivers, like, you can get an Uber anytime, anywhere where you want. Like, I often say today, for where we live, Ubers are so convenient. It's almost like, why would I have a second car? Like that's like, it's crazy, Scott, to me. Like I can have an Uber at my door literally in a minute. Almost, maybe not at 3 a.m. in the morning. Haven't tried that, but and to go around town versus going like an Uber take right to where I want to versus public transportation. It's like it doesn't. I don't. I think I would pay more in insurance a month for the car than, than what the Uber costs. That I'm not doing. Like I'm not commuting, obviously, in that kind of situation.
Yeah.
But what's your comment on that? Like, is that something that we're seeing? Will we be able to build on that? Like again, with the optimism by and large that Canada has, like to kind of move on from there. Big sigh.
You know, going back to what you said about immigration, temporary employment, international students.
Yes.
It was a great part of that. Many of those never reported for school or work, and the numbers are quite high. And I've heard numbers as high as 50,000 came here, excuse me, as a path to citizenship, not to an education, not to this, not to what have you.
Right.
So again, it's just mismanagement. It's mismanagement of the immigration system. Is Uber the transportation of the future? I think that's another topic, and you bring up a valid point. I'd rather wait for and I have waited for an Uber driver many more times than I've waited for a bus. So, and that's just in the last little while over a lifetime for a bus.
Right.
So that is a valid point, and that is a changing economy. However, how we got to this was there's too many people, here competing for too few services and jobs, and they're stuck driving Ubers.
Yeah.
And many may have a degree or what have you. So it's just mismanagement. I mean, it's superficial politics. And you were talking about Trudeau. And I listened to a portion of a speech, and I remember like the first time I heard him when he first came onto the scene, it's like, he's not really saying anything. It's more of a vibe. It's more of a feeling.
Oh, yeah.
It's more of a kumbaya. It's not really, are you going to build anything? Are you going to have some infrastructure, hospitals, schools, pipelines, anything that generates revenue? Like, we have left so much money on the table, Doug. And you're asking, how are we going? Everybody's wringing the Bank of Canada dry. Can't you do something? Build a better birdhouse. That's what you need to do. Like, seriously.
No, true.
Put the hand back in your pocket or put it in your toolbox. That's what Canada needs to do. We need to start building. And now what are we doing, Doug? I don't know about where you live, but here in the GTA, it's exploding. And all of a sudden now we've gone from we're not building anything to build, baby, build. And that's when mistakes are made. So again, there's extreme politics. Can we just get a level head, a level plan that takes us, more than to the next election? And grow Canada, because Canada has not, it's, well, I don't want to use that example, but it's like a child that's been held back.
Yes.
Just haven't grown. And boy, we got a lot of catching up to do. And I just hope rubber's going to hit the road. When
you talk about building, like here in Abbotsford, I'm blown away by how much stuff is being built right now. Like now,
and it's everywhere, Doug. It's not just in the metropolitan areas.
It's almost like you're questioning, like, okay, where is everybody coming from that's going into these places, right?
Yeah.
But it's because I like walk in the morning, and I see
a lot of them are coming from the metropolitan areas and going out to those more rural areas.
Yeah, no, for sure that's happening. But we also
there's working. You can do that now.
In my walk, like around the neighborhood, I still see a lot of vacant houses too, though.
Yeah. Yeah.
Which is, and I mean, to be honest, Scott, like when I look at some of these houses, like,
are you sure they're not away for the winter, Doug, in the neighborhood you're living in? Come on.
No. Down south. What I'm kind of astounded by is the sticker price of those houses still, though. Like it's just because I mean, yes, I've got 20 years of memory in my head is like in the last 5 how quick they've gone up, but it's like like who's going to buy that for $1.5 million? Like it's a 2-bedroom. Like it's kind of mind boggling. But I think that's going to be adjusted, and because I think it's supported in a way, um, artificially as well. So
And I
and
think, and again, that goes back around to 2026. A lot of the pandemic mortgages are coming due. So I
yeah,
think that's the natural cleansing, if you will. So,
that's going to be very interesting.
hang on, kids. You may get to buy mom and dad's home after all.
Well, this is why, like, I was coming back to your comment because it's like you're an optimistic guy, and you're kind of saying like, and like you were very clear about like our kids are not going to be able to buy houses. And now with what's shifting, which I did not anticipate would happen, um, that seems to be like it's not happening overnight, and we don't want it to happen overnight, right? Like we
No,
don't want,
no,
but
no.
if it can get adjusted in a controlled manner, you use the word a properly managed country, there could be like a real strength coming out of this for our country, right? Like it's a pretty big deal, and that's why I mentioned the perspective of, because there's this threat that overhand, like all the houses are going to be bought by these big corporations and everyone's going to rent, and then you hear Trump announce that, well, we're going to put a legal law in place that corporations are no longer going to be able to buy single family homes. And like those are things that are real, that affect you and I, right? And our families and those around us. Is that like that's a pretty big deal. Will that shift even into this country? It's hard to know. Like I find it really intriguing seeing how the shifts happen, and that's why I come back to the point that you're saying on the Bank of Canada. Like December, I'm pretty sure numbers were up for inflation. Are the interest rates going to come a little further down yet? Like it's kind of an intriguing thing to
Again,
me.
I think the Bank of Canada is,
Tapped out.
run dry. Yeah. And it's, even the housing, what you're talking about, those are all factors, of course. But it's simple supply and demand. You build enough, prices come down. It's as simple as that. And with that, stabilizing immigration and the amount, if you're going to bring in 1 million people every year, you better build a lot of houses. And clearly we don't do that. So, I think it's got to be looked at from through more of a building lens. We just need more of everything. You can't bring in 3 million people in 3 years and not build out services.
No.
And as I mentioned earlier, what we're going to see now is, people rushing because, now the big push is to build. And I mean, we're seeing it all around us here,
Yeah.
and in Southern Ontario. So it's if there's a vacant lot, good luck. It's getting snapped up. But again, as you said, there's other market factors which are keeping tabs on that. It's not, people aren't lining up and bidding on homes anymore. It's a much more stable market.
Oh, yeah.
So it's things are normalizing. But again, I don't think we can give anymore. I don't think we can. We got to expand. We got to build, and by that I mean not just infrastructure, but commerce and economics, where your kids are going to have a half decent job so they can pay for something, and that's where we're really falling behind, and that's where really the potential is. I mean, look at our natural resources. My God,
Oh,
like
yeah.
it was all about shut off the tap, shut off the tap. Why didn't you just say close the bank? Like, I mean, it's just stupid, and it's ill advised. And it was back then, and now it's caught up. The world's changed. No, it hasn't. It changes every day. We could see this coming.
Oh, yeah.
We could see this coming. And you know what amazed me? Let's talk about your buddy there, Premier Eby out west.
Yes.
So, and the whole pipeline bullshit. Oh
Yeah.
my God. Now there's something. You must be getting whiplash from him changing on some of his policy. But I found it fascinating that he's against the pipeline, but he's all for building refineries, which I thought was incredible, because I remember in Southern Ontario, there were not lots, but there were refineries here, and they got rid of them all because that was like the worst thing you could do And then once we got rid of the fineries, now we'll just keep shutting off the valve. And now it's like he doesn't want to bring any more out of the ground, but he wants to set up all the smokestacks to refine it. I just thought, my God, wasn't it you people that killed the refinery?
So
wouldn't it be easier to build a pipeline, let Ohio do it, and then buy it back? I don't know.
do you remember?
If you want to build a refinery and a new high tech, go for it. But I was just so surprised to hear the man that doesn't even want to get it out of the ground wants a refinery.
It's one of those things. I remember you saying something to the effect about when they were bringing the electricity in for Stelco, and how they had just kind of set up the picture, and they said, "We're not bringing electricity in. That was just a political ploy to kind of start it."
We plan to in 20, 25 years, Doug. We're planning to. But until we get there, we need a big old natural gas pipe. And you know what? I was fortunate enough. I went down to Niagara-on-the-Lake with my wife on a beautiful getaway this past weekend, and we go over the Burlington Skyway there.
Yes.
And
oh my goodness, man.
Mounds and mounds of coal just waiting for, it's like natural gas is way better than coal, but it's no electricity. If it's not a windmill, you put it away. But anyway.
A different way of looking at it.
Everybody thought they were just the next day going to flip a switch, and
It's one of those things that kind of bounce. The problem is that if you have any kind of a memory that lasts more than 24 hours, it doesn't connect. This is kind of part of the problem. But what's interesting, going back to what you said about jobs and working, like that kind of brings me back to even the other kind of tech revolution that's happening with the artificial intelligence world, right? And how it's shifting that, because it's like, I mean, the big disaster was the tsunami in the corporate world. Everyone's going to lose their jobs because AI is going to replace them, which affects the economy, which in turn affects how we're going to be able to afford housing and all the things that go on with making a living. When you look at and you hear that today, what thoughts kind of go down? I use AI every day. Like I'm just kind of blown away by what I can find out, because I remember the days, as you do, when you'd go to the library to find out one sentence of fact, and it'd take you 2 hours to go through the card rack and put it up to the fish and everything. And like, you find this like instantly today. But for those that have never like learned that, like in the education system, to think that I don't have to do anything anymore. I just can go and ask Chat GPT to write my essay on Ray Bradbury compared to Stephen King in 1,000 words. How do you see that part kind of sliding in, like dovetailing into all this other stuff that we've been talking about, which has been a political picture around immigration, around housing? How do you see that kind of fitting in with what's kind of going on? Because you've got kids in this kind of scenario too, right? Where they're just kind of at the end of their education, but they're very much now in the AI world as far as what you can find out.
I find it hilarious that the same people who can't get a freaking phone out of their face are complaining about AI. And like,
yes.
I don't know the first time in your work environment where you went to the office and pushed on a button and went, "Oh my God, look at this. People are sending me emails and I can get, there's a cat. I don't know what he's doing." AI's been around since you fired it up however many years ago.
Yes.
Spell check is AI.
Yes.
So, and I'm listening to you and it's like, I'm scared of it because I don't know anything about it. I barely get into this podcast, for Christ's sakes. But, AI.
Well, it means so much.
You know what I thought? You know what I immediately thought of? Industrial Revolution.
Okay. Yeah. Well, yeah.
Agricultural Revolution.
Well, I connect.
It's called progress.
I connect this very much with the Industrial Revolution. And the reason why I say that, because I think the Industrial Revolution is really what brought upon modern education that we see today, right? Take the kids out of the farm, the agricultural world, train them to work in our factories. And I don't really think, it's really adjusted a lot. But what it did force a lot of us to do was to learn a lot of crap that we never needed. Did you ever need to know differential equations in calculus? Like, it just goes on and on the list, right? And
I never did learn them, Doug. That's the problem.
it didn't really
This is
hurt you.
me looking through the classroom door at you guys in there doing that. It's like, wow, there's all the smart people in the school.
But it's bizarre to me though. Like we've spent like so much of that now with this kind of the where we've gone, all that stuff we have instantly in our hands via, like you said, our phones, right? Like it's become like you don't need to do this because you can find this out instantly. And when corporations are starting to learn this, yes, it has an impact. But, and this is kind of where the generational part comes in, the older generation is not very good at figuring out what the younger generation is going to do to make things work. We suck at that, by the way.
And every generation has.
That's what I mean. It's always like that. So that's why I said I kind of come back to, in a way, answering some of my own question. But how does that, like, do you hear that from your kids? Or are they embracing it? Like, Dad, you know what I can do? Like, and I know your kids are older. They're not like 10 years old, but they're for sure in the university plan, post-secondary stuff, are being exposed to this in a big way.
No, I've got my son is right now, and the other one going back.
Yeah.
But he talks about Chat GPT all the time,
right?
And how it's used, how he uses it, and the steps it eliminates that we used to take, as you just said.
It's unbelievable.
So everything you're saying is exactly right, but also there's enough tools in place. The teacher knows when you're, there's checks and balances that are in place.
Yes.
It's still plagiarization. It's still cheating.
Oh yeah.
If you're not using it, do it in your own words, Dougie. And that's what my kid says. Do it in your own words. So, but the biggest challenge for this generation, and you've hit the nail on the head, is is there fireworks going off behind me?
You said something there that got it excited.
Something. That's AI.
That's AI. That's AI.
Look,
you just
I'm blowing a horn. I'm always preaching to my kids critical thinking. And it comes up all the time. Like when they do something stupid. Critical thinking? How about some critical thinking? And my son's even taking a course called critical thinking. Which is amazing. It's like, Dad, to teach that, don't put your hand on a hot stove, you'll get burned. It's just, but with this, they lose that ability to solve the problem. It's no longer memorization. It goes beyond that. But now they can't even, if I do this, I'll get to this place, and then I'll figure out how to get to there. Or there may be more than one right answer. There's whatever. But it's separating that and not, and AI will give them a certain amount of critical thinking. But at the end of the day, you're the one driving the car, even if it's, an autonomous car. So you got to know your
yes.
And anybody sitting across the desk from you. And again, these kids got to get hired. You got to get hired. So I'm busy. I'm on my phone now. That's not going to cut it with the boss. So I think the pendulum is swinging back. I think young people are understanding it. Is it being abused? It will always be abused.
Well, it always has been.
Yes. Yeah. But I think they also, at least hopefully I'm trying to teach my kids, you gotta critical think. You gotta be able to think critically. You have to be able to figure stuff out.
It's kind of cool how you say that, because it's like you're saying from your kid's perspective, you're kind of putting that responsibility on them. And that, to me, hats off to you and your wife on that, because that's a big one to me. Is like, you got to figure this out, and you're responsible for.
It's not intentional. It's like, why would you possibly shovel the driveway that way? That's just dumb.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
It's as simple as that.
And it goes further and further. So
I don't scream at them that way. That's just in my own mind.
Anyway, kind of I'm continuing down this road again from it goes from the immigration side and that massive immigration that we did for a couple of years, the healthcare world. And again, that was the one that kind of jumped at me when I kind of heard this kind of going through, is like, we did nothing. we didn't do like we experienced it as a population, as people, that I can't get in the hospital. I can't get a family doctor. Very
Yeah.
bizarre in this nation, right? And when you find out, well, for a couple of years there, we didn't just quadruple, we did it by 5 times.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
And that's what
we didn't
yeah.
do anything though. We didn't think about well, you didn't have time to think about it. Like that's an infrastructure that takes kind of years to do. In fact, we went the other way. We started saying you're fired if you won't do these
There was
things.
a big push on to hire more nurses and get more college students going through the system and all that sort of thing. But you're exactly right in the immigration, and healthcare is an incredibly sensitive matter, and it's really hard to get a win, especially when as much of it is financed by the taxpayer's dollar. People talk about how healthcare is always running at its 90%, 95%. There's no surge capacity. There's none of that built in. Well, surge capacity is not bringing in 1 million people a year for 3 years, right?
Yeah.
Because any operation, and you know this, Doug, if a hospital's sitting there and it's that giant building and it's operating at 60%, somebody's wasting money.
Yeah.
Somebody's wasting money. All of these institutions are designed because of the way they're financed to run at that capacity. And they do quite well in Canada. It's when this happens, it's when it goes above that 10%, from a pandemic, from what have you. From a population explosion. And that's what it was for 3 years post-pandemic.
Yes.
It can't absorb that shock when you're already maxed out. And again, that just comes back to critical thinking. Did anybody think?
Well, I mean, you're putting I do have this belief, Scott, and I haven't always had it, but I by and large think the majority of people are doing the best they can.
Mm-hmm.
It's easy to sit there and judge and say, and you're just messing up because you're just goofy. And it's you have no idea what's behind, whether it's the CEO of a hospital or a nurse.
And you're stressed beyond belief. And
it's crazy to me.
In God bless the minimal times I'm ever involved, they're all giving you their all.
Yes.
They're doing their best. But then this becomes a debate about how is it funded?
Yeah.
Is it funded completely through your tax dollars, which we already know is not a sustainable model with an aging population. So we already know it's more money, says the extreme left. That's not the answer. The answer is somehow privatizing what you can and still giving the same level of care to everybody, but expediting everybody, just improving the level of service we all get. Because we all know, although it's free,
yes,
that it's not free. It's not the most efficient. Is that ringing? Sorry, you're gonna have to.
Well, to me, it's one of those things that it's there when you're in it. It's obvious. There's some real horror stories around it.
Oh, of course there are. Absolutely.
But like you said,
we need to address it. But we need to figure out how we're going to address it.
Yeah.
Because again, trying to get this to blood from the same stone, and there's been studies post-pandemic. It's not sustainable. Not sustainable. So again, lots of people. It's the same thing as dental care. And I talked about this, I think, before. Both the Ontario and the Canadian Dental Association said all of the provinces have great plans in place if they only get funded. Now, if you want to do it universally and have more bureaucracy and more money, you go ahead. But here's, it's really, what's the business plan? And nobody likes to call healthcare a business plan. But boy, see some of the numbers. It's business, and you gotta.
Oh yeah, you can't get away from it's not a business because everything is money, right? So it's you've got to kind of be able to put that all together, and if it's not there, you know why you're in the crammed hospital, emergency room, right? It's all those kind of things. So
and the more you go to the outlying areas and the rural areas, the weaker it becomes. So it's unfortunate, but what's really unfortunate is we don't do something to change the system more. And whenever somebody tries, they scream, rah, 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 it's not public health care. Well, okay.
So with that thought, this is where I was just kind of going. You just came off hearing the Prime Minister's speech at Davos. We've seen a number of actions take place. Where do you see us? Like, where do you see the country heading now? Like, are we in a? We got a lot of mending to do. We're still not out of this hole that we've sunk ourselves into. Are we listening, or are it's obviously not figured out, or are we still going to see some toughness before things shift and move up? What do you?
I don't think there's any quick answer here. Anything we do is going to take time. But what doesn't take time is commitment from leadership that says we're going to start this now, or we're going to start this in a timely manner, as opposed to the years or decades it takes to get anything done here. We've got lots of opportunity. We have lots of promise if we invest in the right areas. And instead of trying to shut down business, instead of trying to shut down progress or development or innovation, or and we should be encouraging it. And for years, and every Canadian wants to save the planet. Oh my goodness, we're all self-conscious about the planet, but we've spent so much time chasing something that, what's the right words to use? We should be very concerned about it. But there's ways to do it other than abstinence, other than shutting off taps, other than, and these people have controlled the narrative for the last 2 decades. And here we are debating a pipeline. Well, they just twinned the Trans Mountain. So it's already we've already done it.
Yes.
What do we? Oh, now we got to make a rocket. Well, no, we already got a few back here. What are you talking about? Like, we've already been to the moon. We know how to do this. So it's just a case of doing it. And again, we should be one of the most prosperous countries in the world. Some may look at us and go, yes, we are. Well, we're certainly comfy, but the house soon is going to need a new coat of paint and maybe a roof and some eaves troughs. And I don't know if you got the money in the bank to do that. So to me, it's about being productive again. It's about giving kids a chance to know if they work hard, they can get something.
Yeah.
And, as opposed to, well, it'll never happen to me. My parents took all the money and that's generation, blah, 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 blah. Come on. But you can't do that without them seeing opportunity, without them seeing a chance to succeed.
Right.
And I don't think they're seeing that. They're just seeing a lot of, look at that guy over there, he's not right. Look at that one over there, not right. It's like, Canada is a very arrogant, judgmental country. Sit down, shut up, and do the work. And then people like Donald Trump won't be kicking you around. Well, I mean, it's like, look after your own backyard.
Well, it's kind of like I said, it comes back to that negative action that, like, we don't like being told what to do, but yet we know we need to do it. We've been kind of put into this false
I don't know. Maybe we do, but I don't know if everybody thinks we need to do it. I think there are still some that I think we're chasing the wrong path, but I don't know. Sustainability. What are you going to do?
Well, I mean, there is the sense that, like, well, the government will save us, right? Like that's always been kind of there as far as a certain.
They've been saving us for 10 years. We're out of money. Sorry, I keep interrupting.
And I think that's true for many people. I think many are tapped out, right? Like, it's just like, I got nothing left. Like, you can go and look. It'd be interesting to know, like, from donations perspective with charities, are they down?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
Absolutely.
Really?
Absolutely.
Okay. That's a sign to me of things just being tapped out.
Entertainment down, things like that. People just don't have the don't have
Well,
the extra disposable income.
so it's an interesting thing, like, because and you have all these things shifting at the same time. So we're moviegoers and have been for years and years. And one of the things that, like, with the pandemic coming, we could go. Well, obviously they were closed for years. Like, that's one of the reasons why I said, like, how does Cineplex stay open? Because
Yeah,
we'll go
yeah.
to a theater now. We probably go more often at the less busy times, but it's super rare to. Avatar was the last movie we went to that had a full theater. Like,
Yeah, I
it's
hear you.
just how
Yeah.
like, in the entertainment world, when we kind of, this is kind of broaching into another kind of question, but it's that, well, why are we going to go out to a movie when we can watch it all on Netflix and Prime and, like, just stay at home, right? Like, it's kind of the
Mhm.
Ray Bradbury kind of picture of the world, right? Just plug in my little AirPods and I'm here in my own thing. And they talk about this a lot because, again, it's these different channels that are going on, and it's like this loneliness epidemic we kind of talk about, right? You hear it in the seniors, you hear it in youth sometimes with the video games and that type of thing. And now, like, you have, like, you don't even have to go out to get anything because skip dishes is literally like a few buttons pressing on your phone, right? And it's at your
Well, the
door.
pandemic taught us that, hey, man, we don't need anybody. We can live at home like a hermit and it won't
Well,
matter.
this is kind of where I'm going with this, because this is switching a little bit, because it's one of those things that I don't need to talk to anybody. And I think it's the exact opposite. I think it's becoming aware that we don't do well when we don't talk to people and aren't around people. And you have all these things circulating. Like, we've talked a lot about the world things, whether it be healthcare, whether it be immigration, whether it be housing, food prices, all those things that kind of are on the periphery. But then we go into us and the people and how it affected. Like, you're not to go anywhere. Like, that was 5 years ago, right? That's what we were told. Stay in your
Yeah.
house, don't go anywhere. And, like, you can't even be going to, like, common places like church or theaters or, like, well, you could go to the liquor store. Like, you could do that. But
Thank God.
how? Yeah, well, many people are saying that for sure. But when you put that to kind of together, how do you think that runs in all this? Because it's like, in today's, like, with regards to even the loneliness side, like, I see that in the community that I'm in. Like, people just don't go out.
Well, again, and maybe we talked about this before, but the pandemic certainly did that. Um, there's not many positives. There are positives in the sense that it taught us more about technology and what we could do, what our
Yes,
capabilities
absolutely.
are, even when things shut down. But it did absolutely breed that sense of, I don't need anybody. And not only that, I don't trust anybody and I don't want you touching me because I don't know if I'm going to catch anything. And, I have a buddy who's in the restaurant business and they got 6 or 8 restaurants or whatever. And he opened just maybe a couple of years before all this started, maybe 5 years
Oh,
before it started, but still relatively new. And he's managed to stay afloat through it, through doing all kinds of weird, innovative things.
oh,
And he's
wow.
got quite a wide variety of different places. But, you know, as he has said, like, um, the big word was pivot. We got to do something different. We got to
Oh,
pivot.
yeah, pivot.
What it has done, it's changed behavior.
Hmm.
You're talking about how you and your wife love going to the
Movies,
theater,
yeah,
and that was an event. That was, well, with today's kids, it's not so much an event
it sure isn't.
because they can't get up and go to the fridge or for whatever reason. But yeah, I think a lot of industries, and not only industries, but our behavior changed. Even to the point where it's like, you know what, I do keep a large circle of friends, but I don't know if I'm going to keep the ones that irritate me or don't give much to my well-being, or play that, whatever. And you're more selective of who you bring into your life. There's all sorts of um, different perspectives of this, but no doubt. And I'm surprised we haven't heard more about this, but I'm sure we will in time. And because there's just so much going on now. But and we talked about this during the pandemic, is how we'll look back on this in history
Hmm.
and view how it changed our world, whether it's socially, technologically, economically. all of that stuff. And it's, I remember my mother saying, it was since passed, but she goes, this is like a world war, except there's no
Yes.
bombs.
Yes.
And she was right. So it's something that will and has affected behavior, and we're going to see that. And you can say, well, it's technology too, and this and that. And yeah, those are all right, but that certainly did. And we don't really talk about it too much anymore, but it certainly did change our behavior and our perspective of, sometimes, people just value stuff more than they did before,
Yeah.
and maybe it's a good thing. So, they cherish the small things. They smell the roses. So I don't know. We'll see over time.
Well, I mean, Laura, my wife, she's a counselor. Our two kids are counseling.
You want to talk about a growing industry, man?
Unbelievable.
It is exploding.
Oh.
Exploding. Yeah.
Because I was going to say, and I sometimes wonder, and I don't know whether this is a cultural thing or not, but when we came out here, one of the things that we two things that were really stand out for us was almost everyone had a second income property, or a place in their house. Almost everyone. I didn't know anyone with that in Ontario. The second thing was the acceptance.
But it's an income property, not like a vacation property, but an income property.
It was an income property, absolutely. But I like it seemed like everyone we knew was like that. It was just a weird thing to me. The second thing was the fact, excuse me, how open people were to, I need help. I need to talk to somebody. Like, it was like, I need
that's
counseling.
a result of the pandemic. I think people felt better opening up and admitting that. Because
living in Ontario, one of the things,
since I first went to a counselor, and I think it's just the greatest thing in the world. So I don't know why there's the stigma about it. It's like working out the brain, man. But I think it's a lot more acceptable now than it was pre-pandemic.
And you think that is, even in like your world, it's more acceptable than pre-pandemic?
Yeah.
Okay.
You're hearing, everybody's in counseling. You're just hearing more about it now. It's more acceptable. It's more.
No,
I remember I did a thing. I don't know. Maybe I wrote a column. Can't remember what it was, but I wrote a column. It must have been a column. And then, of course, there'd be a radio show after that, or vice versa.
There you go.
Two birds with one stone, about counseling and going to counseling. And a national radio host that we all know and love called me and wanted me to do a segment on it. It's like, you're kidding. Like, why? Okay. Tell us your story. Well, like everybody else.
Well, we do come from a world, to me, that like, to show that you needed that kind of help was a weakness, right? And you can't, like, it's like we grew up in the hockey days. You bound your head into the boards. You got dizzy, your bell rang. You sat in the board for a shift.
I don't look at it like a weakness. I look at it like, hey, I need some advice here. What would you do here?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not like, and maybe, sometimes we look at ourselves too much as the victim or whatever. It's just like, to me, it was, well, I just never thought of it that way. That's a neat way of looking at it. So it's somebody giving you a perspective outside your own walls. So, which
is probably a really, really good thing. Self-counseling doesn't tend to work very well.
Keeps you happier sometimes. But
I'm okay. You?
Yeah. Yes.
Do you?
That's another thing. Donald Trump constantly refers to himself in the third person, and he did it again during the speech. Why don't they come to Trump and say, Donald, why don't you? It's like, is that under the definition of narcissist? I don't know. But anyway,
it's kind of an interesting way to speak, though, right? Like Doug says, and it's like, okay. So
apparently Bernie Sanders did it a lot too.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, well, so maybe the power thing.
Do you do that? Scott says?
No. Not in this house.
No, for sure. So when you bring when you're kind of bringing a lot of these things together, like you have observed this kind of in a way, like I can get to do too. Like, do you see a lot of these, like we ended up where we are kind of because of all that happened, like that we kind of see. It's kind of a bizarre set of circumstances and it's like you said, your late mom said that it was like being through a war, but there was
the bombs.
Yes, and like that is kind of like an interesting picture of what kind of went on, right? Like you
Mm-hmm.
stayed in your house,
Sheltered in place.
and so many you get so much you got so much information that wasn't from having a coffee with somebody at the coffee shop or seeing them at the grocery store because you just weren't going out.
Yeah.
Where do you see, or have we learned from this? Because this kind of extends into another world in the sense that we're not very good at learning from history, I don't think. But for those that do learn, it's a good thing. Do you think that this will be a real a turn out to be a positive for us as people, as human beings, with
Looking
all
back,
this, when
pandemic.
we look at all that we've been through, really in the last, it's a pretty short time, Scott. Like it's literally 5 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
And you think of all that we've kind of transpired, we adjusted, we made we complained a lot. Um, but like you think of how many people, like how many funerals didn't actually happen. Like just
Yeah, and the first comparison is obviously the death rate, and it's you know that speaks for itself. Um, but the horror, the destruction, it was a psychological experiment almost. It wasn't
well,
like my mom's quote is interesting, but it's not really accurate because I don't remember running somewhere for my life. When she tells us stories of running to the bomb shelter in the middle of the night. Um, I
that's a good
don't,
point.
oh my God, that was that tough for that couple of weeks where we couldn't get any toilet paper.
Yes, yes, yes. That was a
And,
big news item at the beginning.
and so, in that respect, you can't compare it to the war. Nobody got blown away in that respect. But it certainly is a psychological experiment where I think a lot of people looked inward and what do they want? What do they want out of life? What's important to them? And and it'll be
Hmm.
interesting if it ever happens again to see how we react to it because I don't think it will be the same. So
No.
yeah, I'm still, and it was funny because Trump brought this up. I'm still amazed that nobody's held China to account for this world life-changing event because we all know where it started. And if you want to whatever, I've had epidemiologists on the air, and and
Interesting.
traced SARS and
Yes.
other
Yeah.
stuff right to the pinhead. The only reason we don't have more conclusive evidence is because they got smart from that and hosed the place down before everybody showed up. So nobody's been held to account for that. Nobody's admitted it. And those are solvable problems
Hmm.
and explainable problems. And it's still all been under the rug. Donald Trump was talking about having good relationships with the president of China and with Putin.
Yes.
And he said, I think maybe he brought in Marco Rubio's name, teaching him how to be a diplomat. China didn't like me calling it the China flu. Stop calling it the China flu. So
Right.
I did. Well, why? Because I'm a nice
Yes.
guy. It just made no sense
That's
whatsoever. Not whether you're using the term, but then to turn around and take it back. It was just weird. But it made me think of nobody's talked about that in a long time. How do we make sure we don't get there again? If we do get there again, what do we do about it? How do we react?
so
Uh,
Scott, I bring this back to a couple other things. So because it's almost that, like it's almost, and I don't want, going to use the word conspiratorial, but I think of JFK's assassination. Um, I'll even take it to the going to the moon. Um, you think about a lot of these like kind of unsolved things that we're still talking about. The Epstein world, right?
are they really unsolved or
I
just
don't
not?
think that I don't think they're unsolved.
Yep.
I think it gets so much into the psyche of us. And this shows the power of the media to me. Like it's the power on earth. the
Hey, if
biggest
you have
power.
domestic problems at home, you jump on the world stage and raise hell. Have you heard a lot about the Epstein files since all this stuff with Venezuela and Greenland started?
It's gone again, right? Like I mean, since Greenland started, I've heard nothing about Venezuela. Like it's just gone, right? Like
And it's kept Canada 51st state off the front page too, so that's
it's
fine.
gone. And like I mean, we're hearing this already. Like the social media machine is already telling you think a 13-second clip is short. Wait till the 8-second clip and the 5-second clip that's coming, right? Like you know how you even start scroll if you completely are not part of it, it's different. Like you
Yeah.
don't have a phone, which there are some of. But when you get a phone and you kind of go like it's like you blame the kids at the kitchen table, for example, for doing texts, right? They're doing it. And you kind of going like, yeah, but if the adult knows how to do that, he's going to do the same thing. It's weird, but it's kind of true, right? So when you
Yep.
get that, when you kind of say, okay, in 24 hours, we no longer, well, the Davos speech is probably going to replace a bunch of stuff now, right? Because it's like going to be big news, right? So what happened in Venezuela? Oh, something about like some ships and oil. It's gone, right? And it's just part of, and that's when you go back to like, what about getting that China held accountable for what they created? I think it's like, well, who killed JFK? I think it's like, who's on the manifest for the Epstein? Like, we kind of know, but like, who's gonna help? Who's holding them accountable? Like, it's just, it's one of the. I mean, you're seeing some of it. Like, they kind of basically tried to bury Andrew, right? Like, from what's kind of going on, they pumped at Gates a little bit here and there. They've been pounding at Trump, right? Like he's been seen with him.
Yeah.
But it's like it still comes
Clinton.
back to like, well, do I know? And then I heard someone say to me, Scott, and this was like, because I'm always fascinated a little bit about the moon. And it's like, here we are, technology and all the stuff that we going on, and we're still talking about going to the moon. And we haven't been back since the 60s. And I said, like, the question, like, so did we really go to the moon? And I've had people respond to me saying, I don't actually care whether we went to the moon. They said we did, and I choose to believe that we did. So when you have that kind of sentimentality,
what do we have as evidence that outweighs the evidence that we actually went there?
well,
Didn't we bring back a rock?
Well, yeah, but how do we know it's from the moon? Like these are the parts that become like staggeringly kind of evident. Like I'm still like because I don't know. Have you read the book Chaos?
No, but we go up to the space station a million times.
It's 150 miles off the ground.
It was but I was very fortunate to interview Chris Hadfield a couple of times.
Cool, yes.
Yeah, very, very neat guy, and just a great perspective on things.
Yes.
Once you look at the Earth as a speck of dust from high above,
can you imagine?
Yeah, like I have a hard enough time grasping with the truth.
Yes.
So I don't have time for a lot of conspiracy theories. You talked about going to see movies. I'm quite the opposite. I don't go to a movie unless I hear from friends of mine whose opinions I trust that it's good. And I think you and I text about a recent movie, and I said, there's 2 hours and 45 minutes of my life I'll never get back. And you said, good movie.
Yeah.
I'm out. I was out the first 10 minutes, and I just kept hanging on, hoping it would get better.
But remember, I write fiction, right?
Lots of things that I thought it was trying to become, but it just never got there. But anyway.
Here's another one. Go see Housemaid.
Well, getting back to the movie we're talking about, and unless we mention the title, nobody's going to know what we're talking about. So you can do that if you want. But
One Battle After Another, is that? I think that's the title, right?
Another battle with Sean Penn.
Sean Penn, DiCaprio, Benicio del Toro.
He was great in that movie, by the way.
Which one?
Sean Penn. He was a wacko character.
You know what, Scott?
This is a movie about this extreme
and
this extreme. And you know what? I think that's our lives right now. So I don't want to
Yes.
see them on the big screen. Take me somewhere else. I don't want to see this extreme versus. It's like listening to Donald Trump, like being on an old roller coaster. Your head shaking.
It's
Anyway,
it's a
get on.
well, no, but it's an interesting. Well, you were saying about the fact that you don't have time for conspiracy theories, right? And things like that, or they kind of fit in. And by and large, like I don't like to go down that road, but I'm at your perspective, want to know the truth, right? Like I'm trying to figure out, like, did we know the truth? And
Again, it's like anything. You can't be 100% on most of it, but you look at the evidence that you have in front of you, and well, yeah, I would say so.
and that's
As my dad would say, the train is already come and gone. See, there's its tracks.
And that's why I think it's a fascinating, it's a fascinating thing that, because as a kid, I mean, you probably were too. Weren't you glued to the television set when they were taken off to the moon?
Absolutely.
Like,
I remember our neighbor pulling us in from outside to watch clips.
It was a staggering, like a thing that went on. And like, yeah, I know, like we haven't been back again in like what, 60 years or something to that effect. But it was just things that kind of popped up to me that I just like, and of course I've gone down the science road, right? So like you're demonstrating through science and things that are kind of there.
Well,
And it was
since you are such a science guy, why are you even questioning this? I mean, isn't there enough data there to say, oh yeah, this is what happened?
the hardest part for me, Scott.
We got Tang out of the space program.
Yeah, there you go. Dang, which we don't even know what Tang is if you're in the like under 35 probably. But the thing that struck me, Scott, with this whole thing was literally like the space station and most of the satellites and almost all the stuff that we do in space is literally a couple 100 miles off the ground.
Yeah, you can see it.
It's that close. You can
see it from your front porch.
And we went from that to 250,000 miles away without an issue. Nothing went wrong. And as an engineer, you got to test to figure out how this works, right? And it's like we did it 6 times. If we did it once, it would be like, I'm not saying we didn't go, by the way. It's just that I have questions about it that I never had growing up. And it's like, how do you go from 250 miles to 250,000 miles with no errors? The last 3 times we brought a car.
You can't say no errors because there were plenty on the way.
Let's say they came back safely and no one died.
Yes, but Challenger. There you go.
There you go. There you go, though. They didn't go to the moon then.
Lots of people who, prior to the Apollo or as the Apollo program was going, that died on the launch pad as test pilots.
For sure. Like, it's staggering.
I remember Chris Hadfield saying,
yes,
his wife, because he was a test pilot.
Yes.
When he told his wife he was going from a test pilot to an astronaut, she goes, "Oh, thank God, that's way safer." There's something to that. Seriously.
That's interesting, eh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, you go back to breaking the speed of sound, right? And like the right stuff and all the thing. Like that's a interesting.
The Chuck Yeager story. If you go back and read that, dropping him out of the plane and geez.
I mean,
it's like Wile E. Coyote lighting a fuse.
Oh yeah, there's so many, like Area 51 by Annie Jacobson is a really interesting story about that whole, because it was all like black ops, right? Like no one, I don't think the president even knew what was going on actually, but he was too concerned about the war in Vietnam. But I just going back to it, like you started with this, with the whole China thing, and that's kind of where, like, I think some of this just falls into that abyss of, well, can we really find out? And it's like there's just so many things, and are they then, even if you do find something that warrants it, whether, like, Oliver Stone's just done a new documentary on JFK. It's supposed to be very revealing.
Mm-hmm.
But does anyone even care? Like,
probably not. I mean, I'm sure there's some
So why
historians. Historians
isn't
obviously do, and the people who travel in that sphere. But yeah, it's like, my God, Doug, people don't even remember the Holocaust. People don't remember what happened to Jewish people,
yeah, yeah.
and
Or they go
or
even further.
and are permitting the protests that we're seeing in the streets, albeit they're coming down a bit. But
It's
yeah, people don't even remember World War II anymore. They don't even remember what we're fighting for.
it's a very strange kind of essence. It's like trying to cancel history. like like like
And I
I
guess you do cancel history by forgetting it.
well, I
Because,
mean,
no,
in essence, we all become part of history in a relatively short time. And like what was brought to me a point the other day, he says, like, do you even know who your great great grandfather was? Like, do you even know his name? And it's like, well, that's a pretty good point, right? That's only 3 generations. Like, how crazy is that, right? And you kind of look at it, and to me, one of the things is like almost today, often we'll hear of a significant figure in history like Jefferson. He had slaves, and okay, done. He's canceled. He's gone. And that's how we use history today. Like, we don't look at the story. We don't look at like they founded America, like any of those things. Like, it's just like we
well,
pin
they're
something
assuming
that
that
they're done.
he's the only one who had slaves.
It's just how we think. Like, it's
That's
like,
the way it was back then. It's like, have we improved? Have we evolved? Yeah, I hope so. But how could we elect a prime minister who supported slavery? Because it wasn't the issue that it is today. And thank
absolutely.
God it is. And we no longer have presidents who have slaves.
But
Although some may
that's how
question the current one. But
that's how
like, you can't view life through that lens.
well,
It's like Ryerson. It's like
yeah.
everybody's canceling Ryerson. He
There
was the
there you
first
go.
education minister. It was Edgar Ryerson who brought music into the school system.
Yep.
He started music programs in schools because he believed the arts and culture was something that needed to be taught and celebrated
Yep. Yep.
to everybody. That goes out the window. Why? Well, because that's like saying, we don't like Doug Gardam because he drives a minivan.
There you go.
Well,
It's
everybody had one, and
but that
I don't draw the
you're not
parallel.
worried about the context. In you, like, don't confuse me with the context.
Yes,
Just like you've given me the 8-second sign bell, and I've made my decision, and they're gone.
yeah.
And
I
it's
mean, we
like
don't
that.
smoke on airplanes anymore either. Like that.
Well, you're warned before you see a movie if someone is smoking in the movie. Anyway, it's just an interesting kind of
That's like
perspective.
having a disclaimer in front of a porn movie that said, "You might see somebody naked here."
It's you can't look. We went so far down the line that, like, if you weren't a paraplegic, you couldn't be a paraplegic in a movie.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
well, isn't that what acting is about? Like, like it becomes kind of a crazy, but it also becomes kind of part of what we kind of have had most of this conversation about, and that is our society and how we look upon it, right? Like, it's just
Political correctness. I remember very, very vividly when Prime Minister Trudeau was in office, maybe halfway through his term, and he's speaking at a university, and some college girl gets up and starts talking about mankind, and he interrupts her and says, "No, no, no, we don't say mankind anymore. We say people kind." I think it's humankind.
yes, yeah,
Like, at least if you're going to correct somebody, correct them with the correct term. You
no,
know,
yeah.
but you know what? That moment, and you know what? That kid will never forget that. Oh my
Oh, of
God,
course not.
I got to talk to the prime minister, and he slammed me right in front of my whole freaking class. Like,
Big time.
and you know what? With the lens through feminism, the
Yes.
feminist lens, and the human rights lens, these are all discussions that we should have in a democracy. But boy, oh boy, we have lost our focus. We have lost our focus. And boy, it's like bell bottoms. Once you realize they're out of style, they don't look good.
they really don't look
European
good.
style or not, I don't want to contradict myself and look like an old fart there, but
Well, I mean, almost everything seems to be in these days, but I will note, I will say that
people are
suits
tired
look
of
really.
political
What's
correctness,
that?
and people are tired of political correctness,
Oh
and what they
yes,
want now is results.
yeah. Well,
Just
that's
show me how to make a living and how to sustain myself and my family. Please, enough bullshit. And I honestly think the pendulum is swinging back to the center, and we're seeing it with our own prime minister, and we're seeing it with a faltering president of the United States who's lucky if he makes it past the midterms. So
I think you've really kind of pegged that right away. Like I think like the pendulum is swinging back. Like it was the first thing that came to mind when you said about the Carney's speech at Davos. It's like, okay, are things really, when Tony Keller told me that immigration had been brought to 300,000, I'm going, the pendulum is coming back. Like you hear a lot of things that are shifting, that like it's like there's more than two genders. Like like pardon
well,
me?
the prime minister saying he's a self-proclaimed feminist. What does that make us?
She
You know,
So when we speak of the last prime minister, I can remember, and this is when I started to feel I think we might be in some trouble. He, after the election, and he had appointed his cabinet, one of the first things he said is he had an equal number of men and women in his cabinet.
and that was the most important thing back then, Doug. That was huge news.
But Scott, like was no one giving them their heads a shake to say like, what?
Yeah.
Like
Ask Jody Wilson-Raybould about that.
There
Ask
we
Jay
go.
Todd about that. Ask Chrystia Freeland about that.
There we go. It is, to me, it was just like one of those things, and yet we bought it. Like and that's, to me, comes
We
back.
wanted it to be true. We wanted it to be warm and fuzzy.
Yes, we like the kumbaya a moment, right? Like we're all happy and everybody's treating everybody really nice. So that's kind of a cool thing. Interesting. But going back to your pendulum swing, that might be the title of this one, because it's like I think that really kind of nails it.
Welcome back to the center, Doug.
It's needed. You got me so interested. I got to go back and I've got to go and listen to that, because it'll be all over the media world of his speech, I'm sure. But
So watch his first, then watch Trump's.
Okay. Interesting.
And you'll see a quite contrast in leadership. And I think that will resonate with the world, and I think it will resonate with American people, because I think people are becoming exhausted with Donald Trump.
Yes.
Because just go away.
He's just like he's become probably the world most famous media person today, right?
Yeah.
Like,
well, he was sort of the first social media president, and by that I mean, I know Barack Obama did a lot on social media, but man, he lit up X, like he lit up Twitter. I remember doing radio shows and like and in the middle of the night my phone going off. It's like it's tweets from Donald Trump.
Oh yes.
It's like I'd never experienced that before. When did you ever hear from Stephen Harper or in the middle of the night or anybody? It was nuts.
Well, he kind of brought a legitimacy to it in that way, right? Because like it's the norm now.
Yeah.
And you're like, I remember seeing those and going like, this is insane. Like, you have a president it was Twitter then, but you have a president that's tweeting? Like,
and the funny thing is historically most politicians kind of want to stay back from the media.
Yeah.
But they realized it was a sales tool. And let's be honest. And my earlier reference, if you want to know about Donald Trump, read Art of the Deal.
Yeah.
He's not a politician. He's not a diplomat. Nope. He's a salesman.
Yeah. And
he uses his leverage and bullying and what have you to get what he wants. So, it's just like an infomercial for him. And the products that he has and all of that, oh my goodness.
It is a crazy
He's like
situation.
Colonel Tom Parker. Elvis would have, Lord knows
Oh,
what Elvis's career would have been like if Donald Trump was managing him.
you strike a very interesting point on that, because you think of how many we know, like, that are in that celebrity category and wouldn't have been without an individual like that in their life. From Michael Jackson, you said the Beach Boys, you just said Elvis. You just go and think, if there wasn't a person like that in their area, we would never have heard of them, probably.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like, it's kind
And
of a crazy situation.
and it's kind of, and Justin Trudeau was a part of that. He was part of the new generation
Hmm.
politician where, remember, it was always the selfie. I'll never forget. He's running up the steps to the funeral into the church for Jim
Yep.
Flaherty.
Yep.
And it's like one of the most respected men in girls are calling him over. He does a selfie. And then quickly, that burned out after a year or so. And the handlers said, you gotta tame that. And Donald Trump's just the same thing on the right. And again,
Yep.
I've said this a million times. Donald Trump and Justin Trudeau have a tremendous amount in common as far as their personality. They're narcissistic, they're authoritarian, they're dictators. They don't like being told no or when to stop. They just do it from the opposite side of the political spectrum, the opposite extreme.
Very, very extreme opposite. Yes.
Yeah.
But it's very, very, that's a very neat similarity that you.
That's why Trudeau's at Davos. He can't stay out of the window.
Yes.
And Donald Trump's the same way. Like, he goes on and he just freelances. He doesn't even stick to his speech.
You think of, like, I mean, he was in The Apprentice, right? Like, he was the star of The Apprentice. I mean, we all loved it when he said, "You're fired." Like, it's stunning to think about all the things that have kind of. So tell me, historically, is he the first president that was reelected after a term, missing a term? Do you know?
No, I don't know. Last one I know of.
No, I was just trying to think, like, going back to Roosevelt.
If you asked him, he's won all three. So you know what I'm like, what's going to happen? Like, the midterms are going to come. The rumor is he's going to lose control. So then he becomes a lame duck president because he loses control of
the House.
So what happens in the last 6 months, 8 months? And does he try to, before then, even before the midterms, try to solidify maybe what this is all what this world bullshit's about? You know what? In the world the way it is, you're going to have to make me a dictator. I don't want to be a dictator, but you guys all want me to be a big dictator, so I'm going to have to be one. Because I think a lot of people are concerned that since he didn't want to exit the last time,
right?
Why would he be any different now?
No, it's
even with his vice president saying it's time to go, sir.
It'll be interesting. When are they? This summer?
November, I believe, or the
November.
midterm.
Okay, not till the half term. Okay, so that would make sense. Wow, that's a kind of a. Who knew when we talked last April that this is what we would be talking about? Like, that to me is like, because there was no sense at all. Because I can remember we're just going to carry on with the same Trudeau policies. It's the same people. We're just going to go, and this is kind of timed pretty neat with regards to the Davos speech, because I said that
earlier, Doug. I mean, I think Donald Trump has affected politics and direction in Canada more than any of the last two prime ministers. Because Carney completely changed their position as a result of Trump being in power.
Yeah.
So if Trump wasn't in power, would we be where we are now? Would we be,
no.
Our military? Would we care about the North? Would we care about housing or energy or any of that?
I don't think we would have even had a change in prime minister.
Yeah.
I don't.
Well,
I don't.
Happened, I mean, it was pretty obvious the prime minister was in the shitter, as was his party, and that Pierre Poilievre was going to be the next prime minister. That's when we talked last, because he consumed the center. Trudeau went so far to the left, it created a vacuum. He left it wide open for the Conservatives. As soon as Carney pulled that party back to the center, game over.
Yep.
And whether it was Trump, whether he would have changed the policies without Trump, I don't think so. But it certainly gives you a good excuse to
But
bring the
but
party back to the center.
but Trump's asked to tighten up, because he was talking. That was when I first heard about this fentanyl thing, right? And he said he wanted Trudeau to tighten up the borders, right? And like we did nothing, or pretty much at least that's what we kind of understood. And to me, that was when things started to really become unsettled for the prime minister, because he was like one of Trump's pawns in a way, right? Like he just wasn't like. I remember seeing a picture of him like the school kid who's yelling at the big bully, right? And he's got the group. This is years ago, and I'm kind of going like, that's our prime minister. That's not looking so good. And they didn't get along, right? They were like, it was obvious.
No,
and
Trump detests Trudeau.
Yeah, like it was kind of like
why. And like, think if you're Trump and you've sat there, and not only have you dethroned Justin Trudeau, you've taken him out of his own party. You got his old party reelected. Like, when else did a Republican conservative government be so excited that Canada has a liberal democratic government, or even socialist with what Justin Trudeau did?
No.
Like, hello.
Yeah, it's kind of amazing. It is.
And the whole thing about the big speech, and it was a tremendous speech. You know, he did us proud. And what he did was impactful, and most importantly, it had an impact with the president and everybody. Instead of saying, he's going to really on us, no, he won't. And let's not forget, Ford did it with that commercial first. So it's the same tough love, man.
It's all pieces, right? It's all pieces. Like it's just it's a crazy kind of a story.
And the Greenland thing, I'm sure, was enough. People, enough's enough. We gotta stand up for this guy. And now all of a sudden he announces, we're not going to take military action against Greenland. Well, that slip of the tongue, whatever it was, plant or no plant, that's changed everything.
Oh yeah, no, like, but
you know what? He's got some ideas. Listen to them. Take the ones that benefit you and the rest of the world, and then tune the rest of the crap out. Really. And again, it's a good thing our military is being beefed up. It was one time when the friggin' helicopters were falling off of boats, for God's sake. It's about time they strengthened our border. It's about time we looked at energy. It's about time we looked at our economy. So for that, I thank the guy, but no, not the Canadian way of doing it. That's for sure. And they've got to consensus to men, because they've got a credibility issue if this keeps up.
So do you think his deal with going to China, and I know part of the deal, the only one I heard was the EV vehicles. Do you see that as something that was minor?
Man, I don't know where that's going. No, it's a big issue. And EVs for Kelowna, for Kelowna. Kelowna's next. Yes. Run for your lives. Wake up the people in the retirement homes.
I don't think there's a lot of canola in Kelowna.
Yeah, and Doug Ford is screaming mad about the EV thing and being kept out of the loop. I've had tech guys on that say, there's a reason we kept Huawei off our 5G backbone network, because they cheat and they're not trustworthy.
Right.
So their cars are just vacuums for data. So I don't know, so are they going to build here? Are they going to produce here? Many say no, they'll never do that. So
what do you think about the EV world? Like it's kind of like you've got a kind of a hybrid.
I think it's very overrated. I think it's very very hyped. I think there's a lot of interest in it because it sounds good. But any energy or climate person I've talked to who's in the center has said it's a combo of all of this. There's some situations where an EV is productive. There's some situations where it's not. Right. So it's not an all or nothing. It's not a mandate that you got to produce this much by then.
Which we had.
Exactly. And, Canada produces less. It used to be 1.5, less than 2% of the world's global emissions. So, honestly, if we shut everything and parked everything off, it wouldn't be any different.
It wouldn't make it.
So why not use our clean Canadian liquid natural gas, get it out of the freaking ground and get the world off coal. So EVs,
Interesting.
absolutely. But mining the critical minerals that are needed is as evasive as drilling for oil. So, and guess what? I think the last mine took like 15 years to approve.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
again, I'm all for getting it out of the ground. I'm all for critical minerals and our resources and getting them to market. But we don't consume enough to make any money. We got to sell it. And we got to get on that fast, whether it's EVs, whether it's technology, whether it's for defense, what have you. And again, I think that's what Trump's doing. Trump's like, we need these things. Are you guys going to use this crap or not?
Right.
And if
Right.
you're not, I'm going to go get it. And I don't agree with that. It's not real democracy, but
But what I mean, to me,
the
the
world goes
EV.
too far to one extreme and needs a really hard jerk to get back. And I think that's what we're experiencing. I really do.
Yeah. Yeah. And
And I don't think America's going to attack Canada or Greenland and I think that because it's not because Donald Trump's not crazy enough, it's because the American people won't let him do it. So at the end of the day, are we going to see another insurrection when, Donald Trump's term is over?
I don't know. I think
for
we
that.
I think they got kind of tired of it with the first one, to be honest. Like, I think there was a
Yeah.
lot of, and I just don't think the energy's there to do that kind of thing anymore. And I think from what you've said about Davos, but even like the things that's going on, like, yes, he's on the top of the news, but is it still as relevant as it was like even 6 months ago, right? Like, are things kind of like, well, you said it, the pendulum swinging back. He will
And
probably
Donald
be.
has already been factored into the markets.
Yep.
Businesses are just factoring it in. I mean, everybody knows they want consistency. They don't want indecision, which of course he is. So they just bake it in. And that's what it is now. And everybody knows what Donald Trump is. And they're exactly right.
Yeah.
But calm down. Look after your own backyard. Fortify what you do.
Yeah.
It's economically or energy or whatever. And then go with it. Because that star is going to burn real hot and real quick. And
it has.
we're already seeing that. We're already seeing that. And I think with the speeches that we just saw, I think there's two things right there. And fortunate it's Canada. Could have been the Prime Minister of the UK. It could have been any world leader who had the balls to stand up and do it. But you know what? We are the neighbor next door. So it's like, hey, are you going to fix that noisy neighbor, or do we have to come into your hood and do it? So, good for Carney for doing it. He's getting lots of pats on the back. I'd vote for him today, but Jesus, I want to see it done. I want to see action, not just.
So with what you kind of said here, do you think Trump may be in history looked upon as the guy who brought us back in a backwards way?
I think we're going to look at Trump differently than we do now. It may not be more positive. It may be even more negative. But as time goes by and you find out the history, his medical records, his health, I think it's going to be there. Speaking of movies, Doug, you and your lovely wife are going to be in the theater for a long time watching biopics on this cat.
Oh, no kidding, man. Yeah, it'll be.
By the way, I love watching Saturday Night Live, and there's sketches on it. It's pretty funny.
When you say that, so you watch Saturday Night Live?
Oh, wow. God, yeah. I still love it. I still laugh out loud at it. Not all the time, but you never did. Some of it you just go, oh, that was lame. And other stuff it just makes you, put your Coca-Cola through your nose. But
it's brilliant what Lorne Michaels was able to drive people to do. Because when you're in that moment, as it was live, and you only got a take, right? Like you only did it once. It's amazing what happens to a person in that performance, especially when they have incredible skills as it is. And how many years have they been doing it? 50? Like, it's a crazy amount of time.
And it's always hitting.
It's always what?
It's always hit and miss. I mean, sometimes it's good.
Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But they've got some amazing history of things that were created there that are just.
I was talking to a couple of our friends at a lunch not too long ago, old high school people. I won't bore you with everybody's name, but we were talking because I remember being at a house party. so we'd be like 17, 18, somewhere in there. And this person, shut off the music, turn off the meatloaf, listen to this. And they turned on Saturday Night Live, and the Blues Brothers made their.
Oh my goodness.
And I remember then, and this person was totally plugged into what was going on. It's like, oh my God. And the TV actually went up and the stereo went down as the Blues Brothers played. And I'll always remember that. I remember, and of course, I told him that. I remember that at all, man.
Well, that kind of made Dan Aykroyd, right? Like
Yes.
that put him on the list, right?
They quit SNL to do the Blues Brother movie, right? And then the rest was history.
You just think like he had Ghostbusters, and he's been like, he's another one of those great Canadians that I think because we were commenting on this, like Bachman and Cummings are touring.
Yeah.
And I've often like thinking like those are icons.
Guess Who, I might add.
What's that?
As the Guess Who.
Yes, and it's like they outsold the Beatles in their top frame, right? And like,
yeah, there's times.
And you think of like Taking Care of Business. Who doesn't know that song, right? It's just American Woman. And like when you think of Dan Aykroyd, it's like he's another one of those like stellar stars. Like what he did with Saturday Night Live and then went on to do with Ghostbusters, for instance, like iconic. It's very, very cool.
And vodka.
Oh, like isn't that where they all make their money?
Yeah, they do now. Branding. That I attribute that band to getting me into blues, because
really?
I remember listening to Briefcase Full of Blues and thinking, "Oh my God, this is amazing." And now I listen to it; it just sounds like somebody doing a cover song. It doesn't even, because I have a lot more authentic blues in my collection per se now.
You've matured.
Yeah, it really exposed me to that, and
that's cool.
Yeah, and that's how I really sort of started going down that path, was just trying to find out the songs they were all talking about, because they very much sold the music.
Oh,
and they could have just paid each one of those old artists a certain amount and made them walk away, and they all have a piece of it. So those original songs, those artists still get a piece of that album.
No, so that's very cool.
That was Dan Aykroyd and John Belushi back then. They wanted,
and what a movie too.
Yeah.
In fact, it's funny you say that, because we just saw Jim Belushi on a movie this weekend. I haven't seen Jim Belushi in a movie for like.
You sure it wasn't a VHS tape?
No, this was a brand new movie. It's called The Neil Diamond. So it's a Neil Diamond's.
Oh yeah, the cover singer.
Song Sung Blue with Jackman and Katie Hudson.
Yep.
And he's in that movie.
Oh, that's cool. Good for him.
It's like you kind of forget, like we all get old, right? That's the part that you kind of going like, wow, we haven't seen him.
Everybody else gets old, we don't.
Yeah, it's kind of weird. So coming back to this thing, I was going to say I'm kind of thinking like it'll be interesting to see, but from what you kind of described today, like Trump in a backwards way could well be the one to bring us back. And like he's because to your point, I think, well, I put this in, I don't think we would have had a change of prime minister, but he's the one that to me dumped Trudeau. Like he said, we're done with him. Mm-hmm. That allowed Carney to come in, and he's kind of, to me, in a way, in a negative way, driven Carney to make what he's making happen. And the first I heard was the immigration policy and bringing it down to 300,000. And now you've added the whole Davos thing, which is kind of crazy.
I always want to give credit where credit is due. And Prime Minister Trudeau started to lower it at the very end of his term because he was getting so much pressure. So he actually started the ball rolling, but then Carney eliminated it entirely.
So he took it down by 50,000?
I want people to understand that I still do feel some sympathy for the man.
Ah, okay. Even when he's up there with Katie. Yes, I was going to say
you're the kids, Dad.
I go back to what I said.
Well, yeah, just sit down and watch the game. Like that.
That's right. I still go back and I have to keep going in my head. He's doing the best he can, right? Like it's just like you think of the family that he came with, his mom and dad, like it's just crazy to me. What a world. So before we wrap up here, which has been so much fun again to me.
That's good because I'm exhausted.
Well, you've been filling in a lot of blanks. And do you have like anything to wrap up with like today? Like what we've gone through, talked about, like is there anything that kind of like comes to you to say like this is kind of what I see, or just anything to wrap up with, not putting words in your mouth?
No, because I think I've said everything I'm going to say. But this is why I probably don't want to do a podcast. And it has nothing to do with you and your great program and all the great guests that you have on. But it just riles me up talking about this now. And I remember, and because I've been thinking about it and I've talked to you about it, the ins and outs of it all.
Yes, absolutely.
And you know, there's times when I go, I just don't want to do this anymore. It's fun coming on and talking with you and sounding off, but I don't want to. I don't know if I want to get back on the merry-go-round into the extremist left and right battle and try to, define the center and defend the center.
No, that's
it's just I find it very exhausting now. And after coming through the pandemic, as we talked about earlier, I think people are just. I got enough to do,
Well, I hear your sentiment, and I completely understand, because the last thing in the world I want to do is pick up a spreadsheet or go back and do the engineering world. Like, I love the fact that I have the background in that stuff, and it helps me daily in thinking things through and stuff.
It should help you with that moon conspiracy theory, though.
Well, that's a fun conversation, man. I love going down that road for sure. But
you're trying to wrap up.
But I was going to say, it's like I do get it, but I hope you'll be a guest, because I've already got a few more episodes in my head as far as what to chat about, and we will have an upcoming one that I hope will be super fun, and we'll find out about a band that may be making a comeback. So, but
are you actually play?
What's that?
You guys going to actually play?
I just don't know where.
I don't think that's technically possible.
I don't know where things will lead. To be honest, Scott, I just think it's fun that you're excited about it, and
Do you still have your bass?
No, I don't. No.
Well,
I did for a long time, but I just
rent. You can't participate.
Well, I can sing, maybe.
Can you still play? When was the last time you played?
I think I could play. Like, there's no, I couldn't, like some of the I'll say the riffs that I used to do, but I still very much love music. Like, it's one of those things that just gets inside me that I like.
Yeah.
Like, it's
I listen every day. Every day I got music playing. Absolutely, I agree.
And I still have things that I like, really like. I'm here. So here's an interesting thing, right? So, Rush, right? Like, I'm like, often you'd probably, well, you know me probably well enough. It's like, well, think of Doug. Well, it'd be Rush. And I've had this conversation a few times. It kind of fits into the Moon one, but I'm not super excited about this new Rush thing. And I think it's, and I haven't talked to anyone yet.
There'll be a lot of purists that feel the same way, Doug.
I haven't talked to anyone like that. Everyone I've talked to is just like, they're nuts about the tickets. And I just find it really weird that it's like that. So it's, but like I said, interest in music has changed a lot. I like jazz a lot today. So it's like, when you mentioned about the blues and focusing on those, like, it's like, those are the things that have kind of changed. So, but I think it'd be such a fun conversation. And so this helps out like that. So with that, Scott, I can't thank you enough for coming on. It's been great. I thank you for watching another episode with Scott Thompson. I hope you learned a lot about the different things that are going on, especially with this most recent, shall we say, speech from the Prime Minister of Canada. Maybe things are changing and shifting, like Scott said a lot about. I hope you'll stay tuned to other episodes. I hope you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel, Better Than Not. And with that, Scott, I thank you again for coming back. We'll see you in the future, and bye for now.
Always fun. Thank you so much.
Are we on? Good. Welcome to the Better Than Not podcast. Sometimes we get it right, sometimes we don't. But when we at least do something, we know it's almost always better than not.